is thought of
This is Steve Zeltzer with Pacifica.
And I'm joined today with Cliff Smith. He's the business manager of Los Angeles Roofers Local 36. Welcome to our show.
Hello.
And you were just recently last week arrested around the issue of Kevin de León, who's still on the city council. Why don't you update us on what's happening at the LA City Council and what happened with your arrest?
Councilmember de León was involved with two other council members and the former president of the County Labor Federation. The County Labor Federation president, Ron Herrera, has resigned. This former president of the city council, Nori Martinez, resigned, and the other council member, Gil Cedillo, was defeated in an election. So Kevin de León is the last remaining of the four still holding his office. He's arrogantly refusing to step aside and allow the business of the city to move forward. And now the new city government has taken their positions. We have an African-American mayor, Karen Bass, who is now in office. We have several progressive members of the city council that have been elected, and we have an African-American president now of the County Labor Federation, and Yvonne Wheeler. And it's really a disgrace that Kevin de León insists on holding his position on the city government, given the racist statements that he participated in that private meeting on the recording.
So what happened in this incident?
Members of my union and local community activists that are in Kevin de León's district, Council District 14, from the Eastside Cafe in El Sereno, organized a protest and a sit-in at Kevin de León's El Sereno field office, which is around the corner from where the Roofers Local 36 office is at. So myself and Roberto Flores, the president of the Eastside Cafe, entered the field office. We delivered a statement to de León's staffer, and then we sat down in the lobby and announced that we would stay there until he agrees to resign. They called the police on us. De León continues to refuse to resign, and the police eventually came in and put us in handcuffs and brought us to the LAPD Hollenbeck station.
And what is the position of the labor movement on de León and his continued presence on the Los Angeles City Council?
There's been a unanimous statement from the entire delegation to the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor that Kevin de León needs to resign immediately.
And what are the reasons he refuses to resign?
He wants to protect his personal ambitions, his career as he sees it. He seems to think that this will blow over and that he can outlast it.
And one of the issues that we talked about previously in regard to the crisis in Los Angeles, the exposure of these racist incidents, is the role of the developers, the issue of housing and homeless in Los Angeles. What is the situation with homeless? It's a problem not just in Los Angeles, but San Francisco, all around the country, and a real crisis for homeless people, particularly with this weather now just surviving.
The homelessness and housing problems are getting worse and not better in Los Angeles. I saw a report that it's now 63,000 people that are in the street. And as you say, we're entering the winter, the temperature is dropping, we're getting into the rainy season, and it's a life-threatening situation. We continue to be in a viral pandemic. And so, it's the new mayor, Karen Bass, has declared a state of emergency, and hopefully she'll be able to corral all of the resources at her disposal to be able to immediately address this problem. She's announced that she's going to be moving people into hotel rooms that are available, until permanent housing can be developed, built, or located.
And this is not just a Los Angeles problem, the same as in San Francisco. Homeless are on the streets, mass insecurity, people being evicted from their homes. We have over 180 billionaires in California. Is there any campaign to demand that these billionaires pay for housing for working class people, poor and working class housing people? I mean, it would seem that solving this crisis requires that the people who have the wealth, which are the billionaires, pay for the crisis, pay for housing.
Right, and of course, that's the only solution ultimately to the problem of housing, as well as other economic disparities, is to get the resources and the money where they're at. There's no real campaign to redistribute the wealth into the hands of the communities that need it. There has been some local measures in Los Angeles that passed a ballot referendum in November, United to House LA, which will put a tax on the transfer of properties of $5 million and above, and that tax will be used to develop low income and affordable housing, as well as to provide immediate relief to those in need. We think that this will be a national model. The campaign was led by the Buildings Trades Council in coalition with many affordable housing organizations. So we are happy about that, but it's not going to solve all of the problem.
And also, this past couple of weeks, there have been an attack on the railroad workers. The Congress, Democrats and Republicans, passed a bill ordering railroad workers to go back to work without sick pay under the Railroad Labor Act. What is your response to what Congress did to the 120,000 railroad workers in this country?
Well, Congress interfered in a bargaining development between the unions and the owners that had no business in, and that's an attack really on all of organized labor. If Congress was not going to act in the interests of the needs of the workers, then what it should have done is minded its own business and let the workers and the unions take their own course through the negotiations, whatever that may be. It leveraged the purported threat of the holidays and the economy to say that it needed to prevent a strike. But that's just putting its thumb on the scales in favor of the owners. All the members of Congress have paid sick days. All the owners of these railroad monopolies have paid sick days. And it's really a criminal step by the government to prevent the workers themselves from having those paid sick days.
And one of the owners of the railroads, Warren Buffett, he owns BNSF. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world. You think Congress is in his pocket? That's who they represent. I mean, it seems like a billionaire can afford, and the profits they make 50% a year on the railroads, they can afford to pay sick pay. Why would they order these railroad workers back to work without sick pay?
Well, the Congress definitely is in the pocket of Warren Buffett's class as a whole, the class of monopoly capitalism. And, of course, they can afford to provide paid sick days, and they can afford to provide all manner of other concessions, but they know that to set an example of giving any concessions to the workers is only going to embolden more demands. They don't want to make those examples. They want to draw a hard line, and honestly, they want the unions and the workers to just quietly submit. And to their credit, the railroad workers have not quietly submitted. It's taken an act of government to force them to not move forward with the strike. But the workers have been clear that they're going to continue to organize and to struggle.
And also, there's the continuing UC strike. There's an agreement, tentative UC UAW strike. Those workers were fighting for cost of living, a living wage, and housing as well.
Yep.
And they're fighting also the University of California regents who are appointed by the governor, former Governor Brown, and now Governor Newsom. It seems like they're actually really striking against the Democratic Party, which runs the UC system.
Well, as it is in California, the Democratic Party really controls the state government, as well as the resources of the university system. So yeah, it is directly an action against the leadership of the Democratic Party for sure. And again, the Democratic Party betrays the interests of these workers.
And the laws against workers, one of them is the Railroad Labor Act, which was passed in 1926 to prevent worker solidarity, to prevent the railroad workers, as well as now the airline workers from having the right to strike. They talk about the right to strike in Poland and other countries, but it seems like workers here in this country are prevented from striking. Do you support the repeal of the Railroad Labor Act? And you think that should be taken up in the labor movement as a whole?
Well, the labor movement has to demand the rollbacks of all anti-labor legislation. You know, the Railway Act, any law that prevents workers from being able to organize, from being able to improve the conditions of our lives. You know, the labor movement has to be in the forefront of demanding the repeal of any of this legislation.
And the Railway Workers United, one of the rank and file groups nationally in the railroad worker calling for a united front of all railroad workers, have called for a workers' party, some independent working class party. Do you support that call?
Not just support it, but you know, this is something that we desperately need. There needs to be an independent workers' party developed across the United States.
You think that's more likely happening with the act of the Congress to basically tell workers they have no sick pay?
It should, because workers should see that the government, the Democratic Party, no matter what they say, does not represent our interests, cannot solve our problems, and we need to build independent political organization that represents our interests.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for joining us. We've been talking with Cliff Smith. He is the business manager of Los Angeles Local 36 Roofers Local. So thanks for joining us, Cliff.
If I could say, I have a court date on January 9th in Los Angeles Metropolitan Court. I'm charged with trespassing at the field office of City Councilman Kevin de León, and we're asking for support. So
you want people to go there and support your right to continue the fight to demand that he be removed from office?
Myself and Roberto Flores from the Eastside Cafe. Yes, we're facing criminal prosecution. Thank you.
Thank you.